All right, let's get this thing going. Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert here on this Tuesday night live stream. A sketch, right? Tuesday, right? We typically do these on Wednesday night, but obviously had a big scheduling conflict tomorrow night. So we weren't just going to go without a live stream, right? We had to make sure we had one this week, especially with the massive matchups we've got coming up on Saturday. So welcome back, guys, to this rare Tuesday night live stream. Next week, we will return to our Wednesday night. But regardless, whenever we do have live streams, it will always be at 7 p.m. Central Time right here on the channel. And you're going to get those updates if you subscribe to us, if you subscribe to our weekly newsletters over on the gridironexpert.com, all those things there. And if you're a loyal member of our GE Nation, you typically know all these things anyways. But we're so glad that all of you guys could be here tonight, whether you're watching now, watching later, coming in and out tonight. We got a lot to break down. We got a lot of topics to discuss. We're going to take your questions. We're going to take your calls in what is shaping up to be another massive weekend of college football. 4 top 25 matchups coming your way, ranked versus ranked matchups, none bigger, of course, than Alabama and Georgia on Saturday night. Maybe the game of the year in week 5. Week 5, we might be getting the game of the year. I hope it lives up to the hype. I do believe it is going to live up to the hype. I personally do. The time will tell, right? We'll touch more on that game later tonight. We're sharing our official prediction for that tomorrow right here on our channel, as well as every other matchup. Kansas State and Oklahoma State. Who else? Illinois somehow in the top 20 facing off against Penn State. That's going to be a game we discussed. Louisville and Notre Dame. That's a big one. So a lot of matchups that are going to greatly impact these conferences and these playoff races. And then a couple other ones that we talked about today in our Week 5 predictions, just like we have in the helmets behind us. Wisconsin traveling to USC, Arkansas and A&M for one last time in Arlington. We've seen these guys play there every year since 2014. And then from 2009 to 2011 as well. So a lot of matchups down in Arlington at Jerry's World where A&M has really dominated the Hogs. Last one down, that should be another instant classic. So much coming your way. And, of course, we'll have you covered every step of the way. We're going to take your calls here later tonight, but I do want to hit on our topic points first as we go through. A lot more people to hop on the stream. But UCFEZ, good to see you. My man Mitch, good to see you, man. Your clones, Iowa State, they're looking good. They are looking really, really good. And especially with how wide open the Big 12 is, it's even better for them right now. They should dominate Houston this Saturday. Brady Glassman, good to see you. Neo, it's been a while. Good to see you, Neo. Happy to have you here. Eddie, good to see you as well. Missouri's got some issues. Yeah, some issues. And I think those, and we'll touch more on Missouri later, Eddie, but those issues really began in that Boston College game. You kind of saw those issues early on, and then were kind of exposed even more against Vanderbilt on Saturday, which was a very, very concerning game on double overtime. That was ridiculous. Got some mystery drink in there. Jerry, good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Hope maybe Tabitha's doing well. Also, I'm so sorry about the Cuse, man. I'm so sorry about the orange. I thought they were going to dominate Stanford. I really did. I thought they were going to take care of business at the Carrier Dome. Long road trip for the Cardinal. Electric passing attack against a horrible secondary. They just didn't show up. Maybe it was a Friday night deal. Maybe it was the extra motivation for Stanford. I don't know. But it was a terrible, terrible, terrible performance. Defense looked atrocious, which is really the issue, right? I think the offense has a lot of potential for Syracuse, but it's the defense that has surprisingly been really bad. And that is surprising considering Fran Brown's a defensive-minded guy, considering they had a lot of defensive talent returning. So it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But, Jerry, good to see you, man. Happy to have you here. They're going to win this week against Holy Cross, and then UNLV, right? Next week, that should be the week after. That should be a really, really big game, not just for Syracuse, but for UNLV possibly maybe being in the running for a college football playoff berth, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. And Will Burrow, good to see you. Is Texas going to win the Natty? Look, Texas is back. I will say that. The Longhorns are back. Natty, they were almost there last year. They are the favorite for many to do so right now. Will, they're my number one team, man. They're my number one team in the country right now here at the GE Top 25. So I'm not saying they're going to pick our national championship. I'll actually show you what our predictions are right now here in 1 second. But, yeah, they're legit, man. They're legit. And regardless of whether it's Ewers or Manning at quarterback, they are legitimate contenders. Not many teams can say, hey, my starting quarterback went down, but I'm going to be just fine. Texas can say that, and they can say that with absolute confidence. And that's a scary, scary thought for everybody in the SEC, but also everybody across the country. So good. I'm happy everybody's here. Happy to have all of you here. I do want to give a shout out to our man, Chris Gates Fitness, and his online training camp. You see that ticking across the bottom there, but he is a sponsor for today's show. Check out everything down in the description for him, man. He's got a great fitness program solely dedicated and revolving around football. And I've been using it for, you might not be able to tell, but I've been using it for about the last month since we agreed to this partnership, and he became a sponsor of the channel. And it's awesome, man. He's got the calorie calculator, the high protein, low calorie fitness cookbook, which, I'm all about protein, man. So he's got that for tailgating. He's got tons of workout videos and exercises for you to do. And then he incorporates like weekly college football pick'ems, big time prizes. They're giving away a free treadmill this month. So if you can go out there and rack up a bunch of steps, he's going to rack you up and give you a free treadmill. So go check it out. The link to that down in the description below. He's offering 80% off. 80% off if you use our promo code Gridiron. That's kind of rare. No one else. 50%, 60%, no, 80% for Chris Gates Fitness online. So check it out, the link below. We're going to keep promoting him. He's a great guy doing great work over there. We want you to go join his team because really he's doing some phenomenal work. Also want to plug in our expert picks where we dive into the majority of the football talk tonight and start opening up the phone lines. Look, last week we were at 52. So in the span of really 6 days, it was Wednesday, we had 5 more subscribers. So we are ecstatic about that. And we're getting one step closer to 100. If we get to 100, we are going to do a 24-hour live stream. A 24-hour live stream if we can get to our goal of 100. And you'll see that across the bottom there, ticking across like on ESPN. We had 5 of you guys sign up, and we appreciate every single one of you. If we can get 3 tonight to get us to 60% before week 5 even begins, that is probably a record for us. I believe it is. 60 at this point in the year. Not 60. Last year we were so close. Last year we hit 93. We hit 93 last year. We were so close. But 60 by week 5, I think we can easily top 100 by then. So if we can get 3 signups tonight, that would put us at 60% of the way there. And I think we could be at 100 in the next month. I really believe that. So go sign up. Some of the best spread picks in the country. We're fresh off a 70% week against the spread. We're hitting over 66% of our best bets on the NFL side of things. So, but doing well on the college side, doing very well on the NFL side. So this is the place for you. Seriously, it's one of the lowest price in the country too. A lot of these handicappers are saying, hey, sign up for my picks. I'm going to offer you, 1 day's worth of picks for like $50. And we're saying, hey, we're going to offer you a year's worth of picks, for $100. Or if you don't want both, a year's worth of pick for $70. No one else can offer you that. One of the lowest prices in the country, best picks in the country. Help us reach our goal. We'd love to have you. All right. Let's do this. Will asked about our 12-team playoff. We're kind of like how we begin the show. We'll dive into our 12-team playoff race based on our GE ranking. Will, you asked, you said, is Texas going to win the Natty? And right now I say no. Right now I say they miss out. But if you take a look, we do this every week, right? We're going to do this every week, showing you what our 12-team college football playoff would look like based on our GE rankings. And what I found interesting when I was making this graphic earlier today was looking at how often the matchups change, right? Like last week, Tennessee and Missouri, we had as the number 8 and number 9 seeds. Well, now we have Tennessee as the 6th seed and Missouri as the 11th seed, because even though Missouri beat Vanderbilt, we dropped them quite a bit because that's an unacceptable performance. Missouri did not look like a top 10 team in their win against Vandy. So they still make the playoff, but they go from being a 9 seed to an 11 seed. And what that does, guys, is what I think is interesting to me is it shows how fluid the playoff picture can be on a week-to-week basis and how important it can be. Don't you? I don't know. Maybe you want to avoid Miami, but don't you think that if you're Tennessee or Missouri, you'd much rather play Miami than Texas? Maybe you'd want to play Texas. I don't know. But who you play in the opening round, what side of the bracket you're on in the opening round obviously dictates who you might play in the second round at a neutral site, we should add. So, moving up or down one seed line could completely change the course of your path to a national championship. And again, we saw lots of movement. Oregon, we had as the 11 seed. They moved up to a 10 seed. So, yes, they have to go to Tuscaloosa now. But if they won that game, they'd get Ohio State for the second time, maybe a third time if they play in the Big Ten championship at a neutral site. So it's just really amazing to me how often that the playoff picture can change, how often the matchups can change. And this is going to be a really even more interesting thing to watch out for as we get close to the end of the season, right? As we get down to the second to last week of November, then rivalry week, and then conference championships. There's going to be so much movement in these projections. Obviously, another thing that I find interesting in our top 25 right now, Tennessee is the number 3 team in the country. I have Tennessee ranked number 3 in the country in our top 25, but because of the way the playoff is set up, Tennessee would be the 6th seed because we have Texas at number 1, therefore they'd be the SEC champion as of right now based on the rankings. Number 2 is Georgia, but Georgia can't get a first-round bye, so they would be 5. Number 3 is Tennessee. They can't get a first-round bye because of the SEC. So if you were in a conference like the SEC or the Big Ten, you're kind of at a disadvantage if you don't win your conference. You're not going to get that first-round bye, so you could be the number 2 team in the country, number 3 team in the country, and you might end up being as low as the number 6 or 7 seed in the playoff because of how top-heavy your conference is. And obviously that becomes really unfortunate if you're somewhere like the number 9 seed where you miss out on hosting a first-round game by 1 seed. So like a team like Penn State, who we have as the 8th ranked team in the country, would be the 9th seed, and they would have to travel to Oxford to take on Ole Miss in a Peach Bowl rematch. How interesting is that? So, again, one game, one bad performance like we saw out of Missouri can completely alter your course for better or for worse in terms of your path in the playoff. Kind of similar to March Madness, right? Like, you want to get the highest seed possible, but sometimes it's like, oh, we got a lower seed. That's great because now we don't have to play. I got the 8th seed, which I hate, but now I don't have to play this other team until the Final Four, or the Elite Eight, or whatever it is, and that's kind of the case in college football now. So, based on this picture, though, our national championship prediction still hasn't changed yet. Now, I will say, if Alabama beats Georgia on Saturday, and that's a very strong possibility, it can absolutely happen. Not only will this picture change, but I will tell you, Georgia will not be in the national championship based on our projections. They just won't be. So a lot's going to be I still like Georgia a lot right now. They're looking great. I know the Kentucky game wasn't bad, but I'm thinking Kirby Smart's going to fix a lot of that in this last bye week. But if Alabama wins, you're going to see Bama maybe move over as far as the 5 seed. Heck, maybe they move up as number 1. I don't know if it'd be enough to topple Texas yet. But Alabama definitely would move into the top 3, would move up a seed line or 2. And then Georgia obviously would fall, and their path gets a little bit tougher. Georgia no longer gets to breeze past UNLV or Boise State or whatever it is. They might have to play Oregon or Tennessee, and that's a lot easier or a lot tougher of a game. So, again, one game can completely dictate it. And I will say this. Get one last look at this graphic, and we're going to take it out. I will say this. If Georgia loses to Alabama on Saturday, the Bulldogs got to watch out because there's a chance that they could not miss out on the playoff entirely, but could end up having a very, very low seed. Keep in mind, Georgia has to play Bama. They have to go to Texas. I believe they have to go to Ole Miss, right? So based on our GE top 25, they have to go to the number 5, the number 1, and the number 6 teams in the country. The AP poll is relatively similar to that as well. A lot can change by the time they play Texas. A lot can change by the time they play Ole Miss in November. But regardless, they've got a very, very tough schedule. And if Georgia were to lose to Bama and then lose to Texas and then lose to Ole Miss, that's 3 losses. They're not going. They're not going to the playoff. 2 losses is borderline, depending on what other conferences do. And even if they get in with 2 losses, they're going to be playing on the road against a pretty decent team. So, again, I'm not dogging on Georgia. No pun intended. I'm not dogging on them. I'm not hating on them. But I am saying that there should be a bit of a cause of concern if they lose to Alabama. And the same can be said for Alabama. Bama's still got to play Tennessee. They still got to play a very tough schedule down the road, such as life in the SEC. Still got to play Missouri. They still got some tough matchups there. So a loss to Georgia obviously puts the margin of error very, very slim for the Crimson Tide in year 1 under K on the board. And it kind of goes both ways. So very, very interesting. Will, I'm sorry. He said, Scratch, he's going to hook me up with tickets to Texas and Arkansas. And then I said they're not going to win the national championship right now, and he took them away. My bad. We'll work out a deal. All right. I have a couple talking points I want to get to before we open the phone lines. I don't like to open them up too early. Again, Today's show sponsored by Chris Gates Fitness, his online training camp. Go check it out. Go sign up for him, guys. He's got a great program over there. 80% off your subscription if you sign up using our promo code Gridiron. So go check that out. The link for that down in the description below. Along with all of our other details, including our expert picks, we are 3 away from 60% of the way there. We hope we can get to that goal tonight. We hope we can get to the 60% mark tonight, which will put us in a great spot well before the halfway point of the season. We'd be well over halfway towards our goal, and we're not even at the halfway point of the college football season. So, I mean, that would be absolutely phenomenal. We had 5 happen between the last live stream and this live stream. I don't think it's far-fetched to think we can't get 3 tonight on this stream. The link for that down in the description below. We'd love to have you on board because our picks come out next week. Jeez, long day. Picks come out tomorrow. Our first Week 5 picks come out tomorrow. And you get that betting newsletter as well. So check it out. Again, everything's going across the bottom there. On that Georgia-Bama game, we talked about it a second ago. I'll touch on it a little bit longer. Again, we're putting out a prediction on it tomorrow. I don't know if it's going to be game of the year. I want to believe it could be. I know Georgia still got to play Texas. That's going to be a great game. Then you've got other games in the Big Ten that are going to be great. Ohio State and Oregon is going to be phenomenal. You've got Michigan and Ohio State maybe down the road. Michigan maybe finding their identity again. This has an opportunity to be the game of the year. Tuscaloosa is going to be maybe the best environment we see across all of college football this season. A night game in T-Town with the first true test under the board. You've got Georgia trying to avenge their SEC championship loss from last year. That loss ultimately preventing them from any shot they had at winning 3 straight national titles. I mean, so much on the line here. And here's the thing. Alabama hasn't looked bad. They were an underdog. I think they're a home underdog for the first time since 2007. And, you know, it really is to me a pick 'em. I mean, they're like 2-point underdogs right now. It's very, very minor. But they haven't looked bad. I think a lot of people for some reason thought when Nick Saban retired, Alabama was just going to completely fall off and they were going to look like a lost puppy out on the football field. But, they dominated Western Kentucky. They looked great. USF, they kind of came to life late. I blame a lot of that poor performance on penalties. Alabama had just a lot of mental mistakes that they corrected the next week when they beat Wisconsin by 32 in Madison. So they've looked really good. Jalen Milroe has looked really, really good. Georgia looked good too, but they haven't looked great. The Clemson win was great. That was a big win, but that was, I think before Clemson really found their identity offensively. And they looked horrible against Kentucky. They looked terrible against Kentucky. They won, 13-12, 1 touchdown. So I'm concerned about that for Georgia. If you can narrowly beat Kentucky, can you handle Alabama and Tuscaloosa? To me, that's a bit of a concern. So many different storylines entering this game on Saturday, and it's going to drastically impact the rest of the college football season, not just for these two teams. That's what I think people don't understand either. This isn't just a matter of, it's going to affect Georgia. It's going to affect Alabama. It's going to affect the rest of the country. It's going to affect the rest of the SEC. It's going to affect the playoff race when it's all said and done. So this is a massive, massive, massive game. And it's a rare game. Did you know that since the playoff began back in 2014, we've only had 20 regular season top 5 matchups. And that sounds like a lot, but when you consider that's 10 seasons, we're only averaging about 2 regular season top 5 matchups a year. We don't get many of those. We really don't. And so embrace this opportunity, embrace this game, because you don't get to see a matchup like this of this high caliber between 2 great teams this often, unless it's a national championship or a bowl game or things like that. But in the regular season, it's very, very rare. So soak it in, enjoy it, because again, you don't get to see this very often. And some years you don't get to see it at all. So I really think this could be a game where it's like a where were you type of thing. Where were you when Alabama upset Georgia? Where were you when Georgia rolled into Tuscaloosa and dominated the Tide? I mean, who knows what's going to happen? But yeah, it's going to be one heck of a game. I know my man Max Todd, who's joined us. Max, good to see you, my guy. I know you're very excited for it as well, I would imagine. I mean, I would love to get your thoughts. Are you going to the game? Are you going to Did you get? I know it's a pretty high dollar ticket. So were you able to get a ticket to that game? I'm jealous if you are, because that was high on my list too, but obviously couldn't swing it. But also appreciate the Hogs. I appreciate you pulling for the Hogs. Ugly game on the Plains. The Hogs were ugly, but Auburn was uglier. I guess that's the way you can put it. Whew, rough stuff. Speaking of that, let's go with that. Is Hugh Freeze feeling the heat? I think so. Here's my problem with Auburn. Every year, Auburn believes they're going to win the national championship. And seriously, go back and look. Go back. I think I had Auburn going 7-5 this year. And their fans attacked me. They thought I was a horrible person and didn't know what the heck I was talking about. And I'll admit, I thought they beat Cal. I thought they beat Arkansas. So I actually had Auburn being 4-0. I was generous. They're 2-2. Both those losses coming at home. And this delusional fan base believed that they were going to win 9, 10, 11 games, compete for a playoff spot. We're going to beat Alabama because, quote, we almost beat them last year. Like, it's unbelievable how delusional they can be. And now you've lost to Cal. Now you've lost to Arkansas. Both games you were favored in. Both games you were at home. You haven't played Alabama. You haven't played Georgia. Oklahoma hasn't looked great, but I do think the Sooners are going to win on Saturday. I genuinely believe that. So you have a very, very, very difficult schedule the rest of the way. The only two games I could see them winning that are left are what? Vanderbilt, and they play some, I don't know if it's an FCS team or a very low group of 5 team. So I think they can get to 4 wins. Where are they going to get the other 2? Where are they going to get to? They're not beating Georgia. They're not beating Alabama. I don't think they're going to be – I think they play A&M. A&M may be a toss-up there, but where's the path? And even if they do go bowling, congratulations, you're 6-6. What happened to this team being phenomenal? What happened to this team being, oh, Hugh Freeze, he's the guy. He's going to figure it out. And the problem that I have with Hugh Freeze right now is there's no accountability from him. There's no account. He loses to Arkansas. Look, the players are bad, right? I mean, plain and simple. They don't have a quarterback. They don't have an offense. The defense can't stop the run. I mean, it's just bad. But you know what? That's coaching too. Like, you know, Arkansas played really, really, really bad too, and they found a way to win, which is a very rare thing to happen for the Hogs. But that's coaching. And as a coach, you don't go to your press conference and say, like, pretty much, I'm doing everything right, but my players suck. That's essentially what Hugh Freeze said. I'm calling the right plays. We're getting the guys open. We have guys wide open, but our quarterback keeps throwing it to the wrong team. Our running backs can't hold on to the ball. So not my problem. I'm doing my job the right way. My players just aren't good. You can't help but wonder, how hard do these players want to play for Hugh Freeze? And I don't know if you're on Twitter, but if you saw what Bo Wallace, who used to play quarterback for Hugh Freeze at Ole Miss, if you saw what he was saying on Twitter, it makes you wonder the kind of culture that Freeze has with his programs. What was the culture like at Ole Miss? What's the culture like at Auburn right now? They were semi-disappointing last year. This year, they were expected to be 10 times better. They are not. They actually are worse than they were last year, which is hard to believe since they lost by, 21 points to New Mexico State. So you do that. Then you come on to your radio show and national TV, and are basically saying, like, you know, I'm not going to take accountability. I'm not going to, basically take the blame for the loss really only on the players and only them. That's a bad look. So I do think he's feeling the heat because Auburn expects to win. They got rid of Brian Harsin like that so quick. And the funny thing is, those two guys, Hugh Freeze and Brian Harsin, through the same amount of games, had, I think, identical records. If I'm not mistaken, Harsin may have had a better record by 1 game through, I think, 16, 17 games that they've coached. So it's kind of ironic, isn't it? Hugh Freeze knows offense. He knows it well. I don't think he has a talent team. I'll agree with that, but you don't come out and say that because you know what that does? That kind of creates a rift in the locker room. It hurts you in recruiting. It really, I think, hurts the confidence that the players have in you as a coach. You're supposed to lead the team, not look down upon the team. And considering that they are probably at best going to be a 6-6 team this year, and that's at best, there's a very good chance they'll miss a bowl game. That's not going to cut it down the Plains. So I'm and again, this isn't a quick fix. This isn't just wait. They'll go like 5-7. The next year, Auburn's going to go, oh, but we recruited well, so we're going to win 10 games. Delusional. Absolutely delusional. But it's not a quick fix. So you miss out on a bowl game next year, and then next year Auburn goes 6-6, 7-5. Is that good enough for the Tigers? History would say no. And again, I'm not an Auburn hater. Historically, take out the Cam Newton year. What has Auburn done to make you believe, as a fan base, that they should be on the same level of Alabama and Georgia and Ohio State? Like, what have they done? Yeah, they made the national championship that first year under Malzahn, lost to Florida State. Good for them. Yeah, they were, they've been contenders for other things here and there, Sugar Bowl here, Sugar Bowl there, whatever. Back in the early 2000s, they were all right. But like, seriously, I mean, I could list a good season for every team in college football. Oh yeah, they were really good in 2003. Yeah, they were really good in 2015. Like, every team has a good breakout year every now and then. Auburn's no exception. But consistently, the Tigers aren't that. Consistently, the Tigers are a 6 to 8 win team that every now and then has a big breakout year where maybe they contend in the SEC or something like that. But that's it. But for some reason, this program believes that they should be national title contenders, SEC title contenders every year. And I think it's little man syndrome. I think it's because they live in the same state as Alabama, and Alabama has dominated the state and the country for the last 15 years under Nick Saban. And yeah, Auburn's won a few games here and there. Congratulations. You can relive the kick six for as long as you live. But bottom line is, you got little man syndrome in your own state, and you don't know how to handle it. That's my take. So I don't know. Again, I'm not an Auburn hater. I'm not. It's going to sound like I am. I'm not. I'm just saying, and I would say this for any fan base. I can say it for Arkansas. I can say it for, USC sometimes. There's so many teams. There's so many teams that come out here and just believe they're going to win the national title. Like, genuinely believe that. Genuinely. There's one thing about being optimistic. Be optimistic about your team. Be optimistic about, believing you're going to win each game. You should never enter a game thinking you're going to lose. But bottom line is, in the back of your head, yeah, my team's not capable of this. There's only a handful of teams that are truly capable of competing and making the college football playoff, of winning a national title. Auburn ain't one of them. Honestly, a lot of the teams' helmets that we have back up here ain't one of them. Like, that's just a matter of fact. There's only a handful of teams per year that can do that, and the majority of them don't, and that's okay. That's okay. But God, you're setting yourself up for consistent disappointment if every year you believe you should go win a national title, because newsflash, only one team can do it, and majority of the time it's not going to be your team. Definitely the case for Auburn. So rant over. Hugh Freeze, is he feeling the heat? Absolutely. Max says, he said if they played Arkansas 9 more times, they'd win all 9 games. Absolutely false. Not a chance. Again, it's insane to me. Absolutely insane. I've ranted long enough. Give me a call. Let's rant some more. 870-955-4797. Anybody is welcome to call. We'll try to keep you on for about 5 minutes or so. Try to limit the calls to a minimum length so that we can get as many of you guys on the line as possible. And if we don't get any callers today, or not too many, that's totally fine. We will continue to answer your questions and comments in the chat, just like we did last week, and just what we'll do every week. But the phone line is open. It's ticking across the bottom. It'll be up there in bold occasionally. So we definitely look forward to hearing from you. Actually, we're getting a call right now, so let's get on there. Let's see here. Pull them up. I think I heard the name. Is that you, Brady?
Yep.
Hey, what's going on, Brady? How you doing, man?
Doing good. Just chilling out. Good one for the Irish. Obviously, the offense is ways to go, but I think our defense played well. But I just wanted to call in. Do you think after that big kind of loss that USC had last week, do you think that you can consider like Lincoln Riley's not a coach who is going to evolve?
I don't know. I think as much as I know Oklahoma fans hate him, and to an extent, I'm not the biggest Lincoln Riley fan. I think he's still a heck of a coach, especially offensively, and we've seen that. Honestly, Brady, if you look back at last week, they probably should have beat Michigan. Obviously, the defense was atrocious, allowing 290 yards and like 30 passing yards. They lost a game where they only allowed 30 passing yards. That's really bad. But you take away the Miller Moss pick six, they win that game. You take away a few of those costly penalties, they win that game. I mean, They learned to wrap up. I genuinely believe if they wrap up Mullings at like the 50-yard line instead of letting him break through to the 3, they win that game. Michigan's not going 50 yards by running the ball with like a minute left. It's just not happening. So, Michigan deserved to win. I'm not saying they didn't deserve to win, but USC, if you really look at deeper dive, probably should have won. And then we're not talking about Lincoln Riley struggling or anything like that. We're talking about USC as a playoff contender. So, but the concern, I know what the point you're trying to make. The concern's there. Everywhere he's been, he's failed to win the big game. Got into the playoff with Oklahoma, fallen short. They were a win away a couple years ago at USC. They fell short. So I do think he's a guy that does believe that he can just win based on offense. Kind of like if it becomes a shootout, that's fine. My offense can carry me. And that's not that you can't live that way in college football, especially in this age. So he's got to evolve on that side. And I think he did that, though, by firing Alex Grinch. I think if he wasn't going to evolve and was going to be so stubborn, he would have kept Grinch around. But so hiring D'Anton Lynn was massive. So I wouldn't say that, but I still, in big, massive games, I still don't trust him, if that answers your question.
Yeah, it's the same story. He just can't come through. Even a guy like Marcus Freeman, people criticize him all the time for not showing up when it matters most, but he's pulled away in big games. Beat A&M week 1. Obviously, that doesn't really mean too much now. Also went up and last year, of course, dominated USC. That kind of revived Notre Dame season. Year before, they dominated Clemson at home. That was a big win that really sparked some life. So, it just seems that it's the same story. And regardless of whether or not his defense is getting better, from what I saw, USC absolutely had no reason to lose that game. Michigan was clearly, from what I saw, they seemed like the inferior team. Obviously, their defense is probably top 10, but their offense has so much room to grow. Obviously, their running game is good. Their offensive line is typically really solid, but they just cannot pass. And if you're USC, who actually a lot of people believe, including me, they actually have a pretty decent D-line, but from what I saw, they just got completely out physical. Michigan just had no issue running the ball up their throats. And USC's offensive line really didn't impress me much. It just really seems like all these Lincoln Riley teams really just seem like really highly focused on just the skill talent, and obviously that's crucial. But you've got to get your guys up to the level where they're physical. It's not the game of football is one of the trenches. Everything else determined on that. I think that USC just is, and really for any team that Lincoln Riley's had, not that physical. And I know, only 3 years in the game for USC, and everyone was saying, maybe their defense has finally showed up when they beat LSU. But LSU's not a very physical team. They're not. They allowed 30 plus to South Carolina. So I just can't trust it. And you see other guys in college football that, other people believed had bad. Bobby Hill, not Bobby Hill, Josh Heupel at Tennessee. Yep. Last year a lot of people thought, they're going to have this electric offense with this bad defense, and that's kind of how people felt this year. But they've really figured it out. They're extremely physical on all cylinders. They genuinely look like a national title dark horse right now. And I think that if USC finally figures out that physicality factor, they are going to take a huge step up. But it just, I don't know. I don't know if Lincoln Riley thinks that everything's fine. Obviously, I think that the defense is better, but you just got to be physical. And really, USC, I thought, is clearly the better team. They played better than Michigan again, but if USC wants to be back, like they kind of say every year, they finally got to take that step. They have to be physical, because from what I've seen, 3 games, of course, Utah State doesn't mean too much, but the other 2, LSU, I'm not too impressed with so far, and obviously Michigan has a truckload of work to complete on offense if they really want to get back. So yeah, I think that he's evolving in ways. I think he kind of realized that Grinch wasn't the guy last year, but I personally would say it's the physicality factor. So that's what I'd have to say on that.
Yeah, absolutely, Brady. We're going to address that right now. I'm gonna get you off the line and say someone calls in, but I'm going to address that right here on the stream, man.
All right, no problem at all. All right, take care.
You appreciate it, man. Thank you for the call.
All right, no problem.
All right, excellent points by Brady, man. I wanted to open up the phone lines. If someone calls in a second, we're going to put you on hold so I can actually address this. That is the problem with USC, right? I mean, and really it's been the case with Lincoln Riley's teams regardless. I mean, everywhere he's been, he's had great quarterback play. I mean, we know he's an offensive-minded guy. That's evident. I mean, you can go through the list of quarterbacks that he's thrived with, right? I mean, Kyler Murray and Baker Mayfield and Caleb Williams and now Miller Moss. I mean, everybody's been phenomenal in a Lincoln Riley offense. But I like what Brady said, and it's true that I don't think people talk enough. I think the attention in football, both levels, college football and NFL, it's let's go for a lot of points. Let's go for the skill players, as Brady mentioned. And that's what we as fans like to see, right? Like we want the fast players and the flashy touchdowns and the this, that, the other, right? We don't really see the dirty work happening in the trenches. And you can't win if you don't have the guys up front. You're not going to run the ball well if you don't have a strong offensive line. You're not going to obviously throw the ball well if you can't protect your quarterback. And then obviously on the defensive line, if you're not creating pressure, if you're not, pressuring the quarterback, you don't have to sack him, but you've got to get under pressure. Don't give him all day to throw in the pocket. If you're not disrupting plays, if you're allowing massive run lanes up front, you're not going to win games. And I think that's the problem, right? That's the problem that USC's had, and that's the problem Lincoln Riley teams have had. They're not aggressive up front. If you can't control the line of scrimmage, you're not going to win many games. That's exactly what Brady said. And the thing is, USC's won a lot of games, but they've done it in an unorthodox way. The last couple of years, it's been, I'm just going to score more points than you. I'm going to score 52. You're going to score 51. Like, I'm not going to play any defense at all. Bottom line is, as long as I had the ball last, I'm probably going to win. And you know what? Great. If that works for you, good for you. But it's not a sustainable way of doing things. A sustainable way of doing things is having that type of offense, but being very aggressive on both sides of the ball, but specifically in the trenches. So, and like you said, the sample size this year is small for Lincoln Riley, right? LSU hasn't looked all that great. They just really haven't. They were unimpressive. I lost USC, obviously, very unimpressive against South Carolina. Probably should have lost that game. I thought they were unimpressive last week against UCLA. They only won by 17, but the defense, and I think that's a concern, right? LSU's defense was so bad last year, and we all kind of thought they were going to be improved this year, and they have not been. Blake Baker has not done a great job coming in from Missouri. Now they've lost Harold Perkins for the year, which is a big blow. So LSU, man, I mean, good for them. They haven't lost since the USC game, but it's coming. I mean, I think they could lose to Arkansas. I think they could lose to Alabama. Who else is LSU? Ole Miss, obviously, is a potential loss. Like LSU could end up being a 4-5 loss team, and that sounds ridiculous, but it's true. It's true. If they can't figure out their toughness, especially defensively, then they're in trouble. Offense is pretty good. Offense is pretty solid. But if they can't figure out their defense, teams like Alabama and Ole Miss especially are going to run and throw all over them. I'm sorry, Cedric. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to dog on the Tigers, man. I'm not. But it's the harsh reality. It's the truth. But Brady, excellent call, excellent points. Again, I'm not the biggest Lincoln Riley fan in the world, but his teams have been fun to watch. I'm interested to see what happens over the next few weeks in Big Ten play. I do think they beat Wisconsin. But after that, I know they get to host Penn State. I'm trying to remember who else they play. They avoid Ohio State. They avoid Oregon, I believe. Washington, I think they play, and Washington's kind of an odd team this year. Don't really know what you're going to get out of them in any given week. But I do know they have to host Penn State. I know they play, I think, Indiana or Maryland. Indiana is a dang good team this year, man. Indiana is a Big Ten dark horse. I'm loving what I'm seeing out of the Hoosiers. They will go bowling this year. Really, that's all you can hope for if you're an Indiana fan. But I think it's going to be bowling and then some, like not just 6 wins. they can compete for 7 or 8 wins, and an upset or 2 away from, really making the Big Ten even more interesting than it already is. So I will be interested to see how USC handles the tougher part of their schedule really after this Wisconsin game, because I do think they'll handle Wisconsin relatively easily. Great question, though. Great question. Phone lines are still open. So is our expert picks goal. Our goal is to get 3 tonight. Maybe we can get there. Maybe we can't. I don't know. The challenge is on you, the GE Nation. If we can get to 60% tonight, that would be absolutely massive. That would be, 3 steps closer, really, to getting to our 100 subscriber goal, which, as you see going across the bottom, 100 signups equals a 24-hour live stream. Full 24 hours, starting on a Friday night, running well into Saturday, so we can watch football with you all day long. Live commentary, live streams. It's going to be amazing. So check it out. The link for that down in the description below. We'd love to get, any one counts. Obviously, even 1 is better than none, but 3 tonight to get us to 60, that good even number, is the challenge and the goal that I believe we can get. I genuinely do. Genuinely believe it. So help us out. Help us out. Help us out. Phone lines are open, though. And again, we're going to continue to take everything in the chat. 870-955-4797 is the number to call tonight to talk about whatever you want. Your team you hate, your favorite food. I don't care. Specifically, we'd hope it's football related, but you know what? We'll take any call. That is going to be the number to call tonight. And if we don't get many, or if we don't get any, we will continue to talk to you in the chat, answering your questions and comments. I said we've got Robert in the stream. Robert, good to see you. I see we've got Cooperative Gamer is here with us as well. Cedric Haney was not thrilled with my comments earlier, but Cedric, we're still happy to have you. Same with Austin Pruitt, Alex TV. I think we already addressed Neo. Doggy's here. Max Todd, our good friend, is here as well. We saw him earlier. So going through the chat at a few. Let's see. I think Paxton is here. I don't think I get Paxton. And James Jackson, good to have you. Duke and UNC. I'm excited for it in basketball. It's an intriguing game this year, sure, but UNC, God, what a terrible, terrible game from North Carolina last week. 70-50. That is a basketball score. That's a basketball caliber score. And to do it to James Madison, a team that was actually kind of struggling those first couple of weeks of the year, is just even worse. So, but you know what? That's so typical of a Mack Brown led team, man. The last few years, that's what UNC has done. They've either lost to App State or been very, very close to losing to App State. That's just what they do. That has been the Mack Brown staple since he returned to Chapel Hill, was always either losing or playing way too close a team that they're supposed to beat, typically from the MAC or the Sun Belt or the conference or whatever. And James Madison got the best of them in a bad way. North Carolina, as we know, has always had a bad defense under Mack Brown. They have. They have. And every year, it's like, oh, they're going to be better. They're going to be better. And they just aren't. It's amazing how bad they are. And it's also amazing they consistently get worse than what it feels like. The beating was so bad that Mack Brown was like, hey, I'll step down. If y'all want me to, I'll step down. And they were like, no, stay, bro, stay. I think Mack Brown has this year that he's done, maybe next year when he's done. But, I'm not going to say the game is passing him by, but obviously, he's not meeting the goals set. And it was funny. The funny thing is, North Carolina was in the ACC championship just a few years ago. They were playing Clemson in the ACC championship a few years ago. Got destroyed, but they were there. They were in the Orange Bowl in the COVID year, right? So they've had good teams, but never really living up to the expectation. Always felt. Even if it's not James Madison or App State, it's like, hey, we're 25-point favorites against Georgia Tech. They lose. Hey, we're 25-point favorites against Virginia. They lose. North Carolina, as we've seen, has gotten off to these really hot starts, and then they lose to a team they definitely shouldn't lose to, and then it just derails their entire season. And I think they just got that out of the way early. I think James Madison's here, so expect the downward spiral to begin for North Carolina, maybe starting this week with Duke, which is kind of crazy to think about, but it's kind of what it's looking like. We're getting a call. Let's take it, and then we'll jump back into the chat. We definitely will. Let's see what we got here. All right, you were on the Gridiron Expert. Who's with us?
Shadid Mohammed.
Hey, what's going on, Shadid? How you doing?
I'm doing well, man. First off, man, I've been following you for about, I think it might be my 5th year following you, man. And I want to say, man, you do a great job with your show.
I was always worried that if you graduated college or what have you, you wouldn't do the show anymore. Man, I think you're doing a great job. Win, lose, or draw, like how you present the information. Go through all the teams, give your thoughts and opinions. First off, I want to say you're doing a great job.
Oh man, well I really really appreciate that, man. That means a lot. It's correct. 5 years, God, man. You were there when we were still small, so I appreciate the years of support, man. Really.
For sure, man. For sure. I wanted to touch on something, man, that you were just speaking on. Y'all was talking about USC, but it's going to be overall in college football. I've been watching football since I was a kid, man. I dang near know everything about the game, man. And, I mean, I played high school, played college, what have you. One thing I never understood was I don't understand how you can have such a great offense and not have a good defense. So if you're an offensive-minded person, why can't you have the same caliber of defense to match? So why can't USC not have a defense that Iowa has? I never could understand that in college football. Like, why is we either one or the other? Particularly when there's great offenses, like high-scoring offenses. Why the defense never matches? Like, how can a guy just be so offensive-minded that he just neglects the defense? Meaning, why can't you get a defensive coordinator that can come in and really are you not recruiting great defensive players? Or you don't have a great defensive coach? How can you neglect that side of the ball? And I've seen it several times with different teams, whether it's a high-powered Baylor, TCU, SMU team, whether it's Ohio State. I don't understand how that happened.
Yeah, that's a great question, and honestly, kind of a mystery in college football. I think a big reason for it. Whew, got a motorcycle or something out there, Shadid.
Yeah, I know.
But no, I think one of it is it's a sales pitch, man. You know, you think about it. If you're a coach like Lincoln Riley or another great offensive coach, it's the head coach. You know what you're getting when you come to play for them. That you know what their focus is. So, you know, if I'm a great skill position player or a great quarterback or somebody like that, yeah, I'm going to want to go play for someone like Lincoln Riley. But if I'm a defensive player, I might not want to go play for a guy that's, you know, so offensive centered. And, you know, what you said, why can't you get a good defensive minded coach? Those are sometimes hard to come by because the game's changed so much. You know, years ago, honestly, I would say it's always hard, man, to play football, but it was almost easier to play defense. The game has shifted into such a fast-paced, up-tempo style across the country that it is much tougher to play defense. And not every team has the ability to get a good defensive-minded coach. I mean, you saw that at USC, and specifically, Alex Grinch is horrible. He is a terrible coordinator. He's a terrible defensive mind. He shouldn't even be allowed near the defensive side of the ball. But yet, Lincoln Riley kept him around for years at Oklahoma and for the first 2 years at USC. If I'm a player coming out of high school in the transfer portal, I sure as heck don't want to go get coached by Alex Grinch, where I'm going to get torched every weekend. And also, in a way, get overshadowed by my offense. You know, even if the defense is good, no one's going to talk about you when your quarterback's Caleb Williams. So I think there's so many factors that go into that. I really do. But a lot of it is, if I'm a head coach going into a recruit's house to pitch and all I care about is offense, if I'm a player, do I really want to go play for him? You've got to be a coach with a little bit more balance that has shown that he understands and wants to thrive on both sides of the ball. And, you know, guys like Lincoln Riley aren't like that.
Something you make some good points, man. Something maybe we can consider is the teams with these crazy over-the-top scoring machine offense. Maybe it's the mindset of the coach. Because one thing I noticed about these teams, they're running like the kind of offense that they run. In my opinion, they started probably about 15 years ago. It was a high school offense, and I've never heard anybody say this, but the type of offense that these kind of coaches run is for a team that lacks talent. In my opinion, how this started, and I think it started like in Texas, because the West Coast of California had a much more developed passing game back then.
Yeah.
Let's say you was a head coach and you got to a high school team and you didn't have the talent. So you're gambling on that your quarterback would be the best player on the team. And at that moment, it's like you put everything on its shoulder. And so you create all these swing passes, screens, all these elaborate concepts that you're trying to confuse the quarterback. Confuse the defense, also give the quarterback a lot of options if you want to run, dunk, this, that, third, fourth, and fifth. And I'm starting to think that those types of offense comes with a certain type of coach that has a particular mind, and I think it transitions over to the type of defensive coach that he has. Because when you look at teams like a Georgia, you look at teams like Clemson, Michigan, they defenses are able to keep up with those types of high-power offense year in and year out consistently. They might get burnt from time to time, but they're able to consistently maybe not shut it down, but contain it to where, like, the score is not 56-56. It just seems like something with my man down there in Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin, the same way. It's like their minds are like high school coaches in a sense. And it just seems like it don't translate over to the defense because they're in it's like they're playing with older high school kids and everything's like X's and O's and I can send a guy here and do this. Because from a defensive perspective, what you want to do is hit people in their mouth. And teams that run those types of offenses are not physical at all. Every year it's like that. And it seems like from a defensive perspective, I was taught when a team is like that, they're faster than you, more skilled. Football is a physical game. All you got to do is hit someone in the mouth. They're going to slow down. If you go ahead and put your shoulders up underneath these guys, they're going to slow down. And I just think that the offense that they run, yes, it's fun to look at, high-scoring games, what have you, blah, blah, blah. But it seems like it's a high school game. So right now, if you look at, I know that about Alabama from when Nick Saban first got there to when he left, their team kind of changed over the years. And all they have, it wasn't so much, it stopped looking like an NFL ran program to more like an offensive explosion type deal. And it never seemed to translate into the NFL game, or at least not yet. The NFL, you just can't go in there and do that. Why? Because the defensive coordinators are much more better. The little tricks and all that little stuff you're doing, it doesn't work if you're looking at it from a defensive perspective. Because you're going in here saying, we're going to shut these guys down. Whatever they do in the NFL defensively, it would stop what they're doing offensively in college. And I think that for some reason that is not being transitioned very well in the college game. I just think that those coaches have a certain type of image in their mind of what they want to be perceived of, and it just translates over to the defense. There's more than enough athletes nowadays because the game is less physical due to the rule changes. So you got all these fast wide receivers, but you also have way more athletes in the game of football. Whereas back in the day, an athlete that might play football, first time he put on the pads, he get hit, he goes to basketball.
Right.
I don't want to play football, it's too physical. Because like right now, you've seen a lot of guys that's playing football now, all these points, all these crazy catches. A lot of these guys are basketball players. They're not football players. I'm telling you that. I don't care how big they are, these tight ends, this and that. A lot of these guys are athletes, meaning they're not football players per se if you put the physicality back in the game. So with that being said, you should be able to match the intensity of the offense. You have athletes. Oh, you're fast? I got a guy that's fast. You're strong? I got a guy that's strong. You got different type of blitz packages. The guys are hybrid type players, linebackers / safety. I think it's just due to the mindset of the coach. And those offensive guys are not physical coaches. They're not thinking about physicality, because when you go physicality, you're not thinking 3-4 wide receivers. You're thinking maybe 3 wide receivers at the top, at tops. And you're going to run that ball in between the tackles. You're going to run traps and pulls. And yeah, we're going to go downfield also, but we're going to hit you in your face. And those coaches do not do that. From an overall perspective, from a general perspective, I have noticed that they don't do that. And I think that might be the problem right there, is the coach. and whatever he's thinking about or going on, because it's not that hard. It's some young guy that's a student graduate coming out.
Oh, hey, Shadid, we're getting another call. Hey, I don't mean to cut you off. I'm going to address everything you said. We're getting another call. I want to make sure we get them on the line real quick.
Okay, no problem.
Hey, I appreciate you, man. Thanks for the call tonight.
Thank you.
All right, I appreciate you, dude. Whoever tried calling, we just missed you. Try giving us a call back. We're going to put you on hold so I can address that real quick. But Shadid, good points, man. You got some great points there. And one of the things I liked that you said was, obviously the transition from college to NFL, and the difference. What I think a lot of people fail to understand is college football is supposed to be an amateur sport. Let's think about this thing. Across the country, and we're not just talking FBS, we're talking FCS, we're talking D2, we're talking D3. I mean, you're talking all these different sports. I think we're getting our guy Connor Hibbett on the line. We're going to give him a call or give him an answer.
Connor Hibbett.
To accept, press 1.
Get him on there. Hey, Connor, 1 second, my guy, and we'll get you right on.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
All right. So, yeah, it's one of those things where if you take a look at it, it's an amateur sport. If you go through all the divisions of college football, how many go pro? Like in a percentage-wise? Not many. Not many. So, these are not guys that are meant to go. You got guys that go to college, that play football on the side, and, are starting to become business majors or doctors or whatever. If you're really good, you're going to go pro, you're going to make your millions, but the majority of them don't, right? It is an amateur sport. That is the goal. Now it's shifted a little bit because of the world of NIL and things like that. But bottom line is, it was never meant to be some pro type of thing where you're having the most elite athletes in the world going at it. That's what the NFL is. That's what the NBA is. That's what the professionals are for. And that's why, obviously, you see a lot of college guys that thrive at the college level struggle against those NFL defenses, kind of like what Shadid was saying. I mean, take a look at quarterbacks that have been just ridiculous. You go like Johnny Manziel, currently, and the jury's still out, but Caleb Williams, Bryce Young. You go further back, a guy like Vince Young from Texas. And I'm just listing quarterbacks. I'm not listing other guys. Jamarcus Russell, Darren McFadden, Felix Jones at Arkansas, guys from Wisconsin, pretty much almost every running back from Wisconsin. Like guys that were so good in college that were terrible in the NFL, right? What does that tell you? I'm not dogging on those players. Those guys were absolutely phenomenal when they played in college, right? And they deserved all their success. They deserved all the accolades they received. But what I'm saying is, you look at that, you're beating up on a guy that's going to be working at a pharmacy in 2 years versus going to the NFL that's playing, Ray Lewis, Brian Urlacher, Luke Kuechly, back when those guys were in the league, So that's the difference there. That's the difference there. That's why Johnny Manziel failed. That's why Caleb Williams, I think, is going to fail. His offensive line is absolutely terrible. There's no denying that. But, you've already seen a couple instances like that where he, turns around, runs back 20 yards, and tries to juke out a player. That worked at USC. It ain't going to work in the NFL. Go back in last year and watch that USC-Arizona game where Lincoln Riley literally put Caleb Williams in the center on the right side of the field. Everybody else on the left side. They snapped it to Caleb Williams in that 2-point conversion, and he scored. That wouldn't work in the NFL. That would not work in the NFL, this one-on-one type of thing that they tried running with some of these quarterbacks back then. So that's the difference. That's the difference. And again, I'm not dogging on the players. I'm not dogging on the collegiate level. It is a very tough thing to do. It's a very hard sport to play. But bottom line is, that is why a lot of these guys do fail when they face those elite NFL defenses, when they take that next step, because you're facing professionals. That's why, I love this discussion of, could the best college team beat the worst NFL team? Like, could the Texas Longhorns or the Georgia Bulldogs this year beat the Carolina Panthers? And the answer would be no, they couldn't. Like, maybe you think it's close, but the bottom line is, even though they are the worst NFL team, they are still a group of professionals that have way more knowledge and way more experience, tougher experience, than what these guys have played at the collegiate level. So while it would be very entertaining for all of us to watch, the bottom line is the college team isn't going to win because of the experience and the depth and the talent and the maturity of the NFL team. Bottom line. That is why. So Shadid, thank you for your call, man. I appreciate it. Before we get Connor on the line, I want to say hi to a few people real quick that were That's all come through, but I haven't had a chance to say. And again, we will come back and talk to all of you in the chat. We're going to answer all of your questions, all of your comments. So if we don't get to it now, don't worry, we are going to get there. But let's see, my man Trey. Good to see you, Trey. Great job last week, and I appreciate it, man. I need to hit you up on Twitter again. It's been a minute, but thank you. 7-3 against the spread, guys. So again, we're trying to get 3 expert pick signups tonight to get us to 60% of the way to our goal. We're coming off a 70% week in college football. Very, very excited about that. And I'm feeling really, really good about the picks we've got lined up for week 5 as well. A few of them already out on our website. So go check it out, Trey. I appreciate you and all your support. Thank you for being here. We'll definitely talk soon. Let's see. Who else was there? Noah Madrigal. Good to see you, my guy. New Mexico State. Maybe not going to have as great of a year as they had last year. I don't know. Jury's still out, but hope you're doing well. We're very pumped to have you back here on the channel, man, and appreciate you and all your support, especially all the way out in New Mexico, man. I love it. Absolutely love it. So, Noah, good to see you. Scotty B, good to see you. Swiss Knife, good to see you. Very happy to have all of you here on the chat with us tonight, whether you're watching now, watching later. Check us out. Subscribe if you haven't already. Like the stream. Check out everything down in the description below. You know the drill at this point. We want to have you on there. Want you a part of our GE Nation. All right, we've got Connor on the line. Let's get him on. I guess he was talking to Alex, not me, Alex, the other guy there. Yeah, I think the cooperative gamer. Let's see here. I might double check before I get Connor here. And Shadid, thank you for your call, man. I don't know what the no thank you thing was. I assume it was someone's comment, but I appreciate you and your call, man. We hope to have you back on next week. All right, let's get him on. Connor, what's going on, man?
Hey, man, thanks for having me on.
Absolutely, dude. And it's funny you say that because we're going to either next week or the week after, I wanted to have you on for a mid-season report. So you're jumping the gun, but I admire it.
Well, anytime I get an opportunity to discuss college football with you, it's always a blast.
Hey, absolutely, man. So what's going on? What are we talking today?
Well, a few things. First of all, UConn's making a bowl game.
I agree with you. I actually agree with you. I'm loving what I'm seeing out of the Huskies.
Man, when you look at their schedule moving forward, maybe outside of a road game against the Syracuse Orange, I think they are live in every other game. I think they've got a shot to win every other remaining game on their schedule. It doesn't mean they're going to go 10-2 or 9-3, but 7-5, 8-4 is very much on the table.
Yeah, and the fact I think they just started that ridiculous 6-game homestand too, so that goes significantly in their favor.
Right. I don't think I've ever seen 6 straight home games for any team before, and then of course they got a bye week before they faced Wake Forest. But I've never seen 6 straight home games. Have you?
No, not me. I guess that's the beauty of being an independent. When you're not required to play. When you're in charge of your scheduling and you can schedule anybody you want in a given year, I guess you kind of own that right to say, hey, you're coming to us. You're not required to go play a conference team at their house. So that's the beauty of being an independent, I guess. But even still, we never saw this obviously with Notre Dame or Army or even UMass. So I don't know how UConn was able to manage that, but it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and when you look at the teams on UConn's schedule this year, pretty much all of them are trending down, at least from previous years. Buffalo, I think, is trending up from last year. Great coaching staff that they have, but talent-wise, they still have a little bit of an uphill battle there. UConn, in terms of their talent, I'm not suggesting that they're this great team, but I do think, as crazy as it sounds, UConn might have actually been undervalued entering the year. They got a bunch of these Power 4 transfers at receiver. And it's a low bar to clear, but they probably have their best receiving core in years, maybe since the late aughts, 2008, 2009-ish. And the quarterback, they actually have 2 quarterbacks they can win with. Defensively, it's not a tremendous group, but it is a senior-laden group that plays pretty sound fundamentally. So I think the sum is greater than the parts for UConn. And when you look at their schedule, again, it just provides them so many opportunities. And Rice is not playing that good, and I thought Rice would be better. Temple, although congrats to Temple, by the way, this past weekend against Utah State. Georgia State is probably in a rebuilding year. UMass is UMass. And that doesn't even include teams
like Buffalo and UAB, who are very beatable.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with you on all of that. Like, they've got, 2 wins right now? Obviously need 4 more to go. And I do think the majority of those are probably going to result in wins. I do think they're going to beat Buffalo this week. I do think that they're going to cruise past Temple, like you mentioned. Temple, God, I know they beat Utah State, but that doesn't mean much. Utah State's really, really bad too. So yeah, I think the schedule lines up really well, and that's the thing, right? Like last year, UConn really was disappointing, but they got hit with the injury bug. They lost their starting quarterback like within the first couple of plays of last year. And I like what you mentioned. They've got 2 capable guys. It's Fagnano and Evers, I believe, that can lead the charge if one of them goes down, or if Mora wants to use both of them. And that's something that UConn, honestly, the last couple of years has been lacking, is consistent, capable quarterback play, and they've got it. So factor that with the schedule, and really the sky's the limit. And honestly, for them, if they can just get, a bowl game's the goal, but a winning record prior to their bowl game, so at least 7-5, that would be phenomenal.
It would be. And they haven't had a winning record since 2009 or 10. I have to go back to check, but it was right around that time. And I remember posting on my on CFE a few months ago saying how there's a team out there that has not had a winning season in like 15 years that I think could have a random breakthrough season. And UConn was the team I was referring to. In fact, that was UConn is the team that I made my sicko mode win total play on.
Yep, I remember that. Yeah, and it looks like it's going to cash out big for you, no doubt about that.
Yeah. We'll see. Hopefully, things break right. It's not like UConn has a ton of room for error. They still have to have things kind of go right, or their opponents just significantly underachieve, which is exactly what's turning out to be the case with teams like FAU, Rice, and UMass. Maybe UAB, we'll see. One other team I do want to discuss that could have a breakthrough over the next couple of months, kind of out of nowhere, East Carolina. I think they've got a shot to win out and play for the AAC championship. Am I crazy here?
No, you're not. And we'll make this one quick because we're getting another call, but I do want to touch on this. You're not crazy because ECU has played extremely well. I was heartbroken for them after that massive weather delay last week. They probably should have beat Liberty, jumped out to like a 17-0 lead, and then just kind of got shut down after that. But they're playing really, really good football and really haven't dived into much of their conference play, like you mentioned. So this is a team that, like you and I talked about, it went from like 2 wins last year, should go to a winning record this year if they can not shoot themselves in the foot. The AAC is really wide open. Tulane's beatable this year. Memphis just got destroyed by Navy. Navy looks good, but they're not the long-term solution. Like, I honestly don't know who the favorite is in the American. And so you got 2 teams that are going to play for a title. ECU can definitely be one of them.
Yeah, and the thing is, East Carolina, they don't have to play Memphis. They don't have to play Tulane. They don't have to play South Florida. In the preseason, I thought it was a benefit that they didn't have to play Rice.
Yeah.
Now I would like to swap Rice with Army. But even then, like, they play Army on the road, but they get a bye week to prepare for the rushing attack. And speaking of rushing attack and defense, I know you want to get other people on the call here since I get it. I'll go through this really quickly. East Carolina has, I would say, the best defensive line in the G5. That's probably a hot take, but I think they do go about 2 or 3 deep, and their front line is as good as any G5 defensive line. And again, they have the depth, and not many, if really any, G5 teams have much depth along the line of scrimmage, especially today in the portal era when they're getting poached with their best talent as well as other players across their depth chart and their 2 deep. So ECU has a couple of things going for them that most G5 teams don't, and this is a legit defense. Like, I think this is from front to back, so from their defensive line to their secondary, it might be the best defense among all G5 teams, dare I say.
Wow, and that's a bold take. But, I mean, if you really go through the math, and if you think about the quality of opponents, it's not that far-fetched either.
Yeah, like the best G5 teams in the nation, like, they get talked about because of their offense. And ECU, like, their offense is improved from last year, which was also a low bar to clear in itself. But they're driven by defense
Yep.
and kind of wearing teams down. Like 95% of the higher quality G5 teams are not built that way.
Right.
They're built to outscore you and finesse. ECU is about physicality and playing defense and field position. And I think their offense is trying to be finesse, like they're running this up-tempo offense. But like you mentioned it earlier, they're shooting themselves in the foot a lot. So here's the scary part for ECU opponents. East Carolina has not hit their ceiling yet, and they're still playing pretty good football. If this team quits shooting itself in the foot with turnovers specifically, oh my gosh, I really think 7-1 or an 8-0 AAC regular season is in play.
And honestly, for me personally, Connor, I would absolutely love to see. I'm all for parity. I know you're for parity, and to see someone like ECU make a run, heck, win that conference and go to a solid bowl game. Probably not compete. They have 2 losses now, right? Like compete for a playoff spot, but an undefeated run in conference play would be pretty remarkable, especially considering they went 2-10 just last year.
Right, and I think Phil Steele said that he thought East Carolina could have the biggest win turnaround in terms of like the win column, going from 2-10 to potentially like 8-4, 9-3, 10-2. Although 10-2 is obviously the ceiling at this point. But thinking 8-4, 9-3 season is definitely within range for them, and they could have the largest win improvement from last year in the country. In fact, that's something that I could totally see happening again, just given the low bar that they have to put. They've already matched last year's win total, and they haven't even played at their ceiling or even close to their ceiling yet. And their schedule, by the way, like I mentioned earlier, it's only going to get more manageable from here. It's honestly so manageable. It's probably the most manageable AAC schedule this year.
Well, Connor, we're going to have you back on here either next week or the week after, kind of for a mid-season report. By that point, we'll have some more juice on East Carolina, some more knowledge on East Carolina, and we'll talk more about that and a lot of other topics. But I love what you brought up. I love the G5 focus, or independent focus with UConn and ECU, and we'll definitely be talking soon and actually have you on the show for a full live stream, man.
Well, I appreciate it, Alex. It was great being on for tonight.
Hey, appreciate it, man. We'll talk to you soon. I'll shoot you a text later for sure.
All right, man. Well, you have a good one.
Hey, you too, Connor. All right, that's our man, Connor Hibbett. Whoever was calling us in, I apologize. We missed a handful of calls, and I am sorry. I wish that I had I'm double checking that. I wish that I had a screener. I wish I had someone like taking the calls for me. Hey, Gridiron Expert, please hold. And they put you on that. Just hit a button and then pull you right on. I wish we had that. We're not that high tech yet. But Connor, thank you for your call, man. I mean, excellent points. I talked about that all preseason long. We talked about ECU. We talked about UConn, the potential that both those teams have. And we'll talk more about that here in a few weeks as well, because we're going to have you on. We're going to call now. Finally, the guy that we've been missing.
Kurt from Virginia.
I just missed who it was. Who's on?
Oh, we're live. Let's go. Hey, all right, we're on delay here, but all right, I got 2 questions for you. Daniel, can you put it on mute? All right, so I've noticed that the Who's already hit their win total for the year that you predicted, and I was wondering if you wanted to revise your take on their win total. That's question number 1.
Well, first, who's calling? Who are we talking to?
This is Kurt from Virginia.
All right. Okay. Good to hear from you, man. So quick. All right. Yeah, absolutely, man. Thanks for the call. So I'm glad we got you on. All right. That was question number 1. If I want to revise my prediction for Virginia. All right. And what was the second question? I'm going to answer both.
Second question is, if the Cougs beat Boise this weekend, what's the path looking like to a playoff berth?
Yeah, I like that question a lot. Well, all right, let me start with Virginia, and I don't have the schedule memorized off the top of my head, so I'm going to pull them up right now. Let's go take a look here. Yeah, they have. They obviously have exceeded my expectations. This was kind of a make or break year, as you know, for Tony Elliott. This was like he kind of had to deliver, and 3-1 start is massive. Obviously, the only loss being to Maryland, a solid Maryland team. That comeback over Wake Forest or I guess the thrilling win over Wake Forest, I should add, was pretty massive. And then Coastal Carolina is just not great, just not great at all. But look at.
Come on.
I hate to say,
on the
Hey, no disrespect on the way. I mean, winning on the teal field, man, is not easy, but they definitely have not lived up to the expectations I thought. But no, look at the schedule, man. Obviously, I would love to see Virginia get to a bowl game, and I think it's possible. If I'm being honest with you, it really could come down to that Boston College game next week, or not this Saturday, but the next Saturday, because I don't like their odds against Louisville right now. I don't like their odds against Clemson, even though Notre Dame is bad. Winning in South Bend is not easy. Virginia Tech, ironically, is winnable, but obviously history is not on your side.
No, we're probably.
Yeah, I mean, as much as I'd love to see it, it's just not going to happen. But look, Pitt's beatable. I don't care what anybody says. I'm not sold on Pittsburgh. They shouldn't have really beat Cincinnati. They really shouldn't have beat West Virginia. Both those featuring massive late fourth quarter comebacks. So I think Pittsburgh's been very fortunate more than anything else. I'm not completely sold on them. So that's a winnable game. I think SMU is a winnable game. I know people are kind of high on SMU and everything, but I'll tell you one thing, man. Anytime I pick SMU in a game, like when I actually put it out there publicly, they always let me down. Like I don't know what it is. They're disgusting. So I'm not sold on the Mustangs, and the fact that you get to host them on Senior Day, I think gets a little extra advantage there. So I think Boston College is a winnable game. North Carolina definitely is a winnable game. Pittsburgh, SMU, those are 4 games, and you've got to win 3 of them. So updated record prediction. Oh, man, you're going to put me on the spot, man. I feel like I'm under a lot of pressure with you Virginia fans.
Come on.
Let's see. All right. Let's see. We got 3-1. You'll beat BC 4-1, 4-2, 4-3. You'll beat UNC 5-3. As much as I dogged on them, I think you'll lose to Pitt. So 5-4, 5-5, lost to Notre Dame. What the hell? Give me 6-6. You'll beat SMU, lose to Virginia Tech. I'm not just saying that either. I mean, I really have been very impressed, especially offensively, from what Virginia's put up. And this was a team that was a lot more. And we talked about that in the preseason predictions. They were a lot more competitive than I think that record showed, especially towards the end of the season. They were fighting against teams a lot better than we expected. I mean, that Louisville game last year was one they probably should have won. So they were a lot more competitive down the stretch than that record really showed. So do what?
I think you said before that we were going to turn into the Nebraska with Scott Frost there.
Right.
We've been closing games this year, so.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, if they can figure out how to win those close games, which they've already done so once with the Wake Forest win, then I think they're going to be okay. So, and honestly, if Tony Elliott just wants to keep his job, I think honestly, you want to get to a bowl game, but 5 wins right on the border, you lose a heartbreaker somewhere, I think it's enough to keep him around for one more year because I think it obviously shows improvement. So there's that. For Washington State, yeah, if they beat Boise on the Smurf turf, things get really interesting for them because and I really don't know genuinely how the committee would handle that. If Washington State somehow goes undefeated, which I'll tell you right now, if they beat Boise State, I don't know if there's another team on their schedule that can beat them. Fresno State and Oregon State are their toughest opponents for the rest of the year. And I would favor Washington State in both of those games. So if they beat Boise, there's a good chance they go 12-0, but there's no conference championship. They're like, what do we classify Washington State as? They're not in a power conference, but they're really not a group of 5 team. So if they go undefeated with wins over Washington, Texas Tech, and Boise State, how do you factor them potentially into the 12-team playoff conversation? Do you? They're not going to get a first-round bye by any means, but could you put them in as a 9 seed, a 10 seed? They wouldn't be good enough to host, I don't think, because of the weak strength of schedule. But I don't know. I don't know how the committee would handle that because it's such a honestly, I don't think the committee ever expected that. I think when this happened, they were like, Washington State and Oregon State aren't going to be that competitive, so we don't even have to worry about there being a case. Connor says in the chat they'd kind of be treated as an independent, so kind of treat them like Notre Dame. The highest they could get to 5 seed. It really would just come down to this committee put them in with that week of a strength of schedule. And honestly, I think the majority of the country would hope they would because they are a fun team to watch.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Hey, man, I appreciate the call. Thanks for calling in.
All right.
Whew, man, got me winded on that call. I probably rambled too long, but thank you for the call. Kirk, I believe it was, from Virginia. First-time caller, I think. We have a couple regulars that typically call in and a couple guys that come in new. So, but I appreciate the call. I appreciate the chat about the Hoosiers. God. The Hoosiers, the Cavaliers. My God. When you stay up till about 3 a.m. most nights working, that's what happens to you. I was saying the Who's, the Who's and the Hoosiers. All right. Anyways, thank you for the call. I appreciate it. It was good stuff, man. Phone lines are still open. We're still going strong as of right now. The phone lines, again, if you want to call in, 870-955-4797. That is the number to call tonight as we are in the back half of tonight's live stream. Great calls and great conversation so far. I appreciate each and every one of you that have called in. I appreciate every single one of you in the chat, which we're going to continue to address those questions and comments there for as long as you'll let us. How about Virginia, though? Honestly, 3-1, got a conference win or a conference opponent win in Wake Forest, beat Coastal Carolina dominantly, I should say. It wasn't even close. So maybe they are turning things around a little bit. Let's scroll back through the chat. I feel like I'm very much behind on what I've seen. Scotty B, it's good to see you, man. I'm glad you're here. Trey, I think earlier I said, was glad you're here, Trey, if you're still around. Eddie, and then the call-in number is scrolling across. So, it is scrolling across the ticker there. So if you want to call in, just follow that. My thoughts on the Tigers. Well, I can tell you that I've been disappointed with them. They didn't look good to me against Boston College. Got down 14-3 early. And then battled back. So I guess credit to them for battling back, but I wasn't very impressed with their performance. And we're going to get this caller and put them on hold. 1 second. All right, you're on the Gridiron Expert. 1 second, we're going to put you on hold, and we'll get right there with you. All right, so we're going to get them on in 1 second. I want to finish your comment, Eddie. Wasn't great against BC. And then Vanderbilt, what are you doing? I mean, the last couple of times they've played Vanderbilt, I'd say over the last 10 years or so, it's ironically been somewhat close. It's like Missouri just likes to sleepwalk through that game, and they almost cost their entire season by almost losing to Vanderbilt. They should have lost to Vanderbilt, for being honest. They really should have. Look, the Commodores have improved. Diego Pavia is a baller. I love the culture that Clark Lee has, kind of instilled in Nashville. Like, I love what he's doing. I hope he doesn't lose his job. I really don't. I think this shows, honestly, what Vanderbilt is capable of when they have a capable quarterback, which they really haven't had in the Clark Lee era. They won't have Pavia for long, but it shows what they're capable of. Also, a new offensive coordinator helps a lot, too. But Missouri should be concerned, Eddie, and I hate to say that. I really do. I don't know. Maybe they're going to turn things around, but there's 2 weeks in a row they've had some lackluster performances at home, and the schedule's only getting tougher. Again, they don't have that many big-time games. Like, the schedule actually lined up pretty favorable for them. They got to go to College Station. That's not easy. They've got to play, I think, at Alabama. They host Oklahoma, which doesn't look very good this year and not nearly the team that we thought they were going to be. So, tons of winnable games there. Still a playoff contender. We dropped them out of our top 10, but they're number 11. They're still in the hunt for, it's early. We're not even out of September yet. So, teams can get better. Teams can get worse. They can figure things out. They can stay the same. I don't know. I think Drinkwitz figures some things out. I really do. But there's a lot to figure out because the last 2 weeks against one good top 25 team, Boston College, and one mediocre to below average team, Missouri hasn't looked like a top 10 team. And that's okay. You don't have to look like a top 10 team right now. If you want to reach your goals, you need to look that way in about a month and a half. But right now, just win. Just win. And that's kind of how I feel right now for a lot of teams. You might drop in the rankings. You might get criticized online. Things are going to happen. But a win is a win is a win, no matter how good or bad or ugly it is. So just take the win, build off of it, And that's all you can do. That's why a lot of times in college football, we see such drastic differences. That's why a team like Northern Illinois can beat Notre Dame, and in the very next game they play, they lose to Buffalo. Like, anything can happen in the world of college football. So, but no matter how you get it, a win's a win's a win. So don't panic too much yet, Eddie, but definitely don't coast and don't think all is well in Columbia, because it's not. They still have a lot to improve on if they want to reach their goal, of course, of making the college football playoff. All right. We have got, let me take that off the screen there. All right. Let's get it on here. All right. We've got a caller. Let's get him on the line. I've had to put him on hold for a little bit. Welcome to the Gridiron Expert. Who's with us?
Hey, Alex, this is college football guy. How are you doing?
Hey, man. We're doing good. How are you?
Oh, not too bad. Just it's been a while since we chatted, and sorry, I'm just now getting the chance to call into one of your live and calling shows. I've been very busy, and I keep forgetting every single week. So, but man, I can't believe we're already into week 4. We're almost halfway through, but that's how the college football season flies.
It does,
How's
man.
everything going on your side? Your apartment doing okay and everything?
Yeah, it's getting there. Yeah, that's part of the reason we had to switch to today. We've got a meeting with all the insurance people tomorrow night at around 6 o'clock. So I had a feeling that was going to last a while. So we moved the live stream to today, so we wouldn't have to cancel it tomorrow. And hopefully they'll take care of us and we can get all this squared away.
Well, I'm glad you're at least back up and running and everything. So anyway, talking a little bit about college football, I want to pick your brain a little bit.
Absolutely.
As you know, I'm a North Carolina Tar Heels fan. I didn't have high expectations for the season, but just when I thought they could surprise me, how on earth do you give up 70 points to a group of 5 team?
Yeah.
I'm still dumbfounded by that. I mean,
yeah.
I have no words to say. I mean, it's all I can say is, look, I'm glad Matt Brown has brought us back to relevance. I mean, he's done a good job. But it's just time for him to ride off into the sunset and just, time to begin a new coaching searching career. Look, I'm not saying to fire Matt Brown now or anything, but I think it's just time to part ways because he's in his 4th year there, and things seems just not to be looking up at this point.
Yeah, I think I actually agree with you. I'm not saying fire Matt Brown. I think the right thing to do is probably Matt Brown to just step down at the end of the year, make this his last year. Because kind of like I mentioned earlier, I think the game's kind of passing him by, and this has been you as a fan would know this has been a consistent thing under him where you've either lost to a group of 5 team or you have narrowly escaped a group of 5 team like App State the last couple of years, or if it's not them, it's losing. You're number 6, 7 in the country, and you're 20-something point favorites against Georgia Tech or Virginia, and you lose, and it kind of derails your entire season. So. And as a fan, that's unacceptable. You can understand if you lose to Clemson or Miami or Louisville, but to lose to one of the worst teams in the ACC the last couple of years, that's not okay, especially when you're undefeated. So I just think the game is passing Mac Brown by. Bowl games are great. 7-8 win seasons are great. But if North Carolina really wants to take that next step, I think they've got to get someone in there that's a lot younger, a lot more innovative, and they've got to get someone that can figure out how to coach a defense.
Yeah, and I mean, this is by far the worst loss in Mac Brown's era. I mean, that was just pure embarrassing.
Yeah.
Of course, you probably heard the rumor going around about Mac Brown saying during the halftime that he was resigning and everything. I don't know if that's true or not, but in my opinion, let's just let the season ride out. Let him just kind of finish. If he makes the bowl game, great. If he doesn't, that's fine. And I think by the end of the season, just let him let's just part ways with him and let him just kind of end his career as one of the best college football coaches, and just move on from there and just start time looking forward as a Tar Heel fan. And I think that's the best part. Like you and I agree upon. Another team I kind of want to pick your thoughts, and I'll let you go so you can get some other callers. Kind of want to pick your thoughts on
a couple teams. What do you think about Michigan moving forward? Because I can't. You and I both know their offense is absolutely horrendous. I mean, now granted, I was surprised that they beat USC, but I mean, it's Lincoln Riley that we're talking about in defensive wise. But you know, that was a good turning point for them as a win. But I mean, what's your thoughts going forward? Do you think they can maybe still possibly make the playoffs? I mean, the Big Ten championship's a far reach, but I think the best case scenario is maybe making the college football playoff. Say if they do lose to Oregon and Ohio State, I think they get in. But I'm a little concerned they might slip up. So what's your thoughts going forward in terms of Michigan? Do you think their offense will improve? Do you think the defense will get better? What's your thoughts going forward with the season? And then also as well, what's your thoughts on USC? Because I can't figure them out. They're still kind of mysterious. I mean, their defense is improved. I will say that, but it's still not good. Offensively, I don't know. USC's a big question mark to me going forward, especially with how they look as a schedule-wise. And then the last question I have for you is Tennessee. Now, Tennessee right now can be any team in the country. You can make an argument for them to be the number one team in the country. They can definitely win the national championship. But my only concern I have for Tennessee is their lack of depth when they go against teams that are rotating bodies in, like Georgia, the Alabamas. I mean, if the scenario happens to where, and God forbid, I don't hope it happens, but if Tennessee starts piling up the injuries, do you think they will still be able to compete with the top dogs that are deeper with them, or do you think they really have to stay healthy throughout the whole entire season to win a national championship? I'll let you, whenever you can get a chance to answer those questions, I'll let you go so you can get through some more callers. It's good talking to you, Alex.
Hey, you do, man. Thank you for the call, man. And great questions. We're going to address them right now. So thank you very much. All right. Appreciate it. Man, college football guy. We're going to talk Michigan. We're going to talk USC. We're going to talk Tennessee. Not going to forget. But first, thank you, Anthony. How about that, man? Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate that very, very, very much. It means a lot. It means a lot. It goes a very, very long way. Every bit, whether it's an Expert Picks subscription, whether it's a Venmo donation, it goes a long way. And Max, I think it's in I thought it was in the description for this video. If you're on YouTube or on the place where you can check it out. Let me double check on that for you. I think we just have the handle on there, the Venmo handle. But I can post a link here shortly or just use the handle on there. It is in the description. Thank you, Anthony. Yeah, thank you very much. And again, I really, really appreciate that. You're the man. Seriously. Thank you. One second. We're not going to take a call right now. Hold on. We're not going to take a call right now. I want to talk about. I'm going to talk about what College Football Guy is called. I want to address some of the things in the comment section, and then we might take one more call to wrap up the night. So whoever tried to call in, give us 1 second, and then we'll open up the phone lines again. But again, thank you, Anthony, and thank you, Max. If you're interested, I appreciate it. Both of you, thank you. So you talk about Michigan, number one. I don't think Michigan is a playoff team right now. I just don't. Look, the win over USC was good, but the way they won isn't going to fly against a lot of other teams. You look a little bit deeper into it. USC probably should have won that game on Saturday. If Miller Moss doesn't throw a pick six, they win the game. If they knew how to wrap up, they win that game. Like, there's so many things that USC did wrong, more so than Michigan. And Michigan, look, they deserve to win. Like, Michigan deserved to win the game. 290 rushing yards, over 6 yards per carry. That's absurd. So they deserve to win the game. But would that style have worked against Ohio State, Oregon? Well, maybe Oregon's got a pretty bad defense. But would it have worked? No, it wouldn't have. Wisconsin, Wisconsin's not great offensively, but defensively they would have been solid. It's like a better defensive team than USC would it have worked? No. And the bottom line with Michigan is unless they can figure out a passing attack, unless they can figure out how to throw the ball and have some semblance of balance, they're not going to go very far. Because that's the thing, right? This Michigan is not designed to be an Army, Navy, Air Force. They're not designed to be a run only. And I know not run the triple option. I get that. But like, you've got to be able to throw the ball to win in a power conference. You just got to be. And they can't do it. I don't have faith in Alex Orji being the guy. He's a great runner. He's a guy that you have to respect because, you know, with that RPO style that Michigan's going to try to run and his ability to run the ball, it's going to be tough. You know, and they'll have a couple big breakthrough pass plays here and there, just like Army and Navy and Air Force always have one big pass play here and there kind of up their sleeve. But bottom line is, until they can figure out a competent quarterback, I just don't see it. I just don't see it happening. So that's number one. Number two, USC. What to make of them? They're not going anywhere either as of right now. They're in a better spot than Michigan, but until they can figure out their defense and play consistently, they're not going to go anywhere. You know, you can't get torched like that on the ground and expect to be a playoff contender when you've got a pretty tough slate coming up. And the thing with USC, and I'm going to take a look at it a little bit because I might have been a little harsh on them, and that's on me. But like, let me pull them up. I know they're playing Wisconsin this week. USC's got a relatively favorable schedule that could go in their favor in the sense of them making a decent bowl game. I don't think they're going to be a playoff team. They should beat Wisconsin. They should be. I mean, here's the thing, right? It's a matter of like what USC team shows up. Because I'm looking at the schedule, right? Like Penn State is at home. It's a very tough game. Penn State's probably going to be favored, but it'll be close. Rutgers is an intriguing game in late October. Washington on the road. What Washington team are we going to see? Nebraska is significantly improved, but they have to go out to LA. They'll beat UCLA, of course. And then Notre Dame in the season finale, also at home. So that's one thing USC's got going for them. Notre Dame, Nebraska, Rutgers, Penn State, Wisconsin, all are coming out to LA. That's massive. The only road games they've got left are at Minnesota, at Maryland, at Washington, and at UCLA, which really isn't a road game. And even if you want to consider a true road game, UCLA doesn't really have a home field advantage anyway. So, I mean, it's a pretty favorable schedule if they can figure out their running game or in their running defense. Again, I think they'll beat Wisconsin. I think they'll beat UCLA. I could definitely see them beating Washington. I think the jury's still on them. They will probably beat Rutgers, although Rutgers can run the ball very well. So make sure you stop down the Scarlet Knights. Notre Dame is tough. Penn State is tough. I think they have to split those. And that's actually what Anthony just said right there. If they win a lot of those games, split Penn State and Notre Dame, finish 10-2. If they do that, they have a great shot at an at-large bid, just like you said. I think that's a very strong case to make the college football playoff. Your two losses would be on the road at Michigan and then one of Penn State or Notre Dame, both of which will probably be top 15 teams when you play them. I don't think that's bad. And honestly, Anthony, you might disagree. I don't know. I think you would be better off losing to Penn State, if you want my honest opinion, because of the timing. Yes, it's a conference loss, which is not ideal. It'd be 2 conference losses, so it might keep you out of the Big Ten championship game. Depends on what the conference plays out. But I think we know that Ohio State and Oregon are the 2 favorites in that conference as of right now, and USC avoids both of them. But I don't think you want to lose late. It's a double-edged sword, I guess. You lose to Penn State, you probably don't go to the Big Ten championship. But you beat Penn State and lose Notre Dame, you probably still get into the Big Ten championship. But that loss at the end hurts you. So you lose that, and you lose the Big Ten championship to Ohio State or Oregon, whoever it may be, and then that would be 3. And that's the thing. It's almost like, do you want to avoid the Big Ten championship? Because if you do, if you go and you lose, that's 3 losses. And a loss in your conference championship could end up keeping you out. A win locks you up, but a loss could keep you out. So that's one of those things where you might honestly be better off losing to Penn State, beating Notre Dame. Yeah, you missed out on the Big Ten championship, but you don't lose late. You finish the year on a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 game winning streak, potentially beating at least 2 top 25 teams in Notre Dame, and I think 1 of Rutgers, Washington, or Nebraska could be ranked in the top 25 when you play them. I really do think that could happen. So you got 2 top 25 wins in there, plus a win over LSU. If they continue to win, that looks better on your resume. So I don't know. That's just my take. That's my take on USC. So definitely something to kind of watch out for there. It's going to be interesting. They've got the talent, but the defense still has to step up. DeAnton Lynn has done a great job. They've improved. I know that sounds crazy to say after what we saw against Michigan, but they have improved. The offense is great per usual. They've got a dog in Miller Moss. Can they take advantage of their schedule and not lose a game? They should split Penn State and Notre Dame, and they could be a playoff team. And how crazy is that? And I get the playoff is expanded. I get the 12-team playoff. But how crazy is it that you could go 2 years with Caleb Williams and never make the playoff, and then the first year without him, you make it? Again, the expansion helps, but still kind of crazy to think about. So, yeah, I don't know, man. It's going to be interesting. I love it, though. I'm excited to see how it pans out for the Trojans. I really am. And I do think they're going to beat Wisconsin by double digits this Saturday. So, Anthony, again, I appreciate you. Looking forward to talking more Big Ten football with you, more USC football specifically with you over these next few weeks, and just kind of doing some USC updates as we progress throughout the season. That Penn State game on the 12th, though, is circled on my calendar, man. I am pumped for that, and I hope both teams win the next few weeks, and that is a top 10 showdown out in LA. That's what I'm hoping for. And then finally, college football guys' last team was Tennessee. I want to touch on that. And then we're going to address a lot of the questions and comments in the chat as we wrap up tonight. Tennessee is surprisingly dangerous. And I say surprisingly because I don't think any of us really realized how good that defense was going to be. We knew the offense was going to be good. It's Josh Heupel. They were going to have it. We knew Nico was going to be good. We knew they could run the ball. Like, I was never concerned about the offense at all. But I was like, is the defense going to live up to the hype, or is the defense going to come through? And so far they have. And it's dangerous, man. That defensive line, that front seven is unbelievable for the Volunteers. And the thing with Tennessee, man, is, yeah, I mean, look, you can't predict injuries. You obviously hope no one gets hurt in any capacity for anybody. I don't want that for anybody. If Nico goes down, I don't know. Season obviously looks drastically different. If Dylan Sampson goes down, obviously looks drastically different. But Tennessee only has 2 really tough games left on their schedule against Alabama and Georgia. They get to host Alabama. They have to go on the road to Georgia. So, I mean, because look, they're going to beat Arkansas. They're going to beat Florida. They're going to beat Kentucky. They're going to beat Mississippi State. They're going to beat UTEP. They're going to beat Vanderbilt. Tennessee's 4-0. So nothing is a lock for anybody. Nothing is a lock for anybody. But Tennessee could be, unless they just slip up somewhere they shouldn't. Was the most likely place, genuinely, the most likely place they would slip up would probably be Arkansas on October 5th. If they're going to lose to a team not named Alabama or Georgia, it would probably be on the road against Arkansas, if we're just being honest here. Because they're not losing to Florida and Knoxville. They're not losing to Kentucky. That's just not happening. Not losing to Mississippi State. Not a chance. So it kind of begs the question for Tennessee, too. If you split, you're in. If you're 11-1, you're in. Maybe an SEC championship, too. If they're 10-2 with the losses to Alabama and Georgia, do they still get in? Because here's the thing with Tennessee. Who's their best win after that? None of those teams are elite teams. NC State struggling. Oklahoma, we don't know what's out of them. They really wouldn't have any huge quality wins by season's end. So that's an interesting thing to kind of to monitor too. But yeah, obviously injuries could derail the season. Obviously injuries could affect their season. That's the case for anybody though. But right now, Tennessee's looking dang good. They are one of the best teams in the country. I'd get them ranked number 3 in the country, only behind Texas and Georgia. And again, if they can split Alabama and Georgia, those 2 games, and not slip up anywhere else, they're going to the playoff. And I don't want to see them. I wouldn't want to see them. If it's my team, I would love to be on the other side of the bracket from where Tennessee is. No doubt about that. So great questions and I kind of like that. I kind of like getting the questions like, give me your take on this team, this team, this team. Go. So college football guy, great questions, great layout. Appreciate that. And Max Todd, I assume that was who that just donated. Yes, it was, because he said roll tide roll. RTR, baby. Max, Thank you, my guy. Another huge donation. This time through PayPal. It doesn't matter where it's coming from, man. I'm telling you, it doesn't matter how much it is either. Every single bit counts. So Max, if you're still around, thank you very much. Very much. I genuinely appreciate that and all of your support and everything that you've done at the channel over the last few years. It's so great to have you back, man. It really is. I know it's been a little while. So we are excited. I hope you enjoy. Max, do me a favor, man. Leave us a comment tomorrow on our Georgia-Alabama prediction video. It comes out at 1 p.m. Central Time tomorrow afternoon. Leave us a comment on it. Spoiler alert, I think you're going to like it. So leave us a comment. But Max, I appreciate you, all of your support, man. It does go a long way, genuinely. And again, very happy to have you on our team, genuinely. And same for you, Anthony, very much so. That's both huge contributions tonight. All right, let's dive into a few last comments before we wrap up the night, which has been a great night. Y'all have done a great job of engaging both on the line and in the chat. Keep this up. We're going to be set for the year. I'm telling you. Let's see here. Just find a couple good ones. President Rocks, who in his trying to see is from Utah because he says Real Salt Lake. Is Utah a legitimate dark horse? Man, they're not a dark horse. They're a favorite. I mean, for what? I mean, a national title or a Big 12 title? Because they're a favorite for the Big 12. National title maybe could be a little bit different. But if they get in the college football playoff and they win the Big 12, they're going to get a first round bye, and sky's the limit for them. And even if they don't, if they get to host a game in Salt Lake City, I'd go ahead and already move them over to the next round more than likely because that's such a difficult place to play. So I don't think they're a dark horse because I think this is a dang good team. They're a top 10 team. But as many of the comments have said below you, Cam Rising is the key. Utah will only go as far as Cam Rising can take them. Yes, they survived Utah State without him. Yes, they survived a road game at Oklahoma State without him. That is awesome. That is awesome. And hold on, we're holding up on the phone lines for 1 second. We're gonna take one or two more at the end of the night. Wanted to wrap up a couple comments, get caught up on those. Whoever's calling, bear with us for a moment. But no, they're looking really good, man. So no, they're fine. Like they are not a dark horse. They're a favorite, and that should make you feel better. Connor, Illinois is going to hit 5.5 wins very soon. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. Could win as many as 8, like you and I have discussed. I'm very excited for Indiana football. And I don't know about you, Connor, but I think they beat Maryland handily on Saturday. You might disagree. I'd love to hear your take in the comments, but I think they will cruise past Maryland. A lot of people are saying, oh, no, Indiana hasn't played anybody that good. Maryland's going to maybe beat them. Maryland's going to take them down to the wire. I don't think so. This Illinois team or this Indiana team is firing on all cylinders on both sides of the ball. Kurt Cignetti, to me, should be in a running for Coach of the Year, especially if he can win 7 or 8 games. So very excited to see the future of Indiana football. No longer just a full-time basketball school, which they've struggled on that side of things too. Let's see here. Connor says he's going to get tickets for Utah and Iowa State in Arlington. So he's already predicting the Big 12 championship game. Utah and Iowa State. That would be epic. The winner of that game going to the college football playoff, that would just be awesome. Absolutely awesome. Would love that. Would love that. So you know what, Connor? Yeah, you get tickets for that game. I'll be there, man. I will be there. Let's go. We'll tailgate all day. And I have a feeling I know who you'll be rooting for in that one as well. Let's see here. Scrolling through. I might miss a few in the process. Froze up JoJo. He asked if you were taking questions. So I want to make sure I get to yours. You're a Miami fan. What do I think? God, what do I think? They're unbelievable. Alex below your comment says that they're best team in the ACC. Yeah, they are the best team in the ACC. I've got them ranked. Froze up. I got them ranked number 7. They are the 7th ranked team in the country in RGE top 25. They really haven't played anybody. Their best win is what? Florida. And that's not really saying too much. But it's not so much they can't help who they're playing, right? It's how they're winning too. It's how Cam Ward has looked, how the defense has looked, how dominant they have looked, which hasn't always been the case under Mario Cristobal. Really hasn't always been the case for Miami. So how they have looked over these last few weeks. That's what's impressed me the most about Miami. And their schedule really works out very well for them. They've got Virginia Tech at home, a very disappointing Virginia Tech team that did not live up to the preseason expectations at all. Their toughest games after that, on the road against Louisville. And that's it. I mean, honestly, at Georgia Tech, because Georgia Tech always seems to give Miami all they can handle, which is kind of crazy to me. Syracuse, maybe, but Syracuse just lost to Stanford, which was very unfortunate and shocking. So Miami's got a clear-cut path, and they've got room for error, too. They can lose a game. They don't want to lose a game, but they can. They're the best team in the ACC. The ACC is wide open. Say they lose to Louisville in a couple of weeks on October 19th. Yeah, that's unfortunate, but they'd have a chance to get revenge over them in the ACC championship game if Louisville even makes it. So they are the best team in the ACC. They have an insanely favorable schedule. They can still lose a game, make the ACC championship, win that, and go to the playoffs. To me, this is a playoff team. They have one of the best offenses in the country, and Cam Ward absolutely deserves to be the Heisman Trophy frontrunner. So I'm loving everything that I'm seeing from the U, and it's kind of nice to see them back being fully relevant, not like top 20 relevant, like top 10 national title contender relevant. It's pretty special to see him in this spot. Hunter, good to see you, man. I didn't mean to roast. I didn't mean to roast your guys. I didn't mean to roast Virginia Tech. I'm sorry, but I know you're frustrated. I know you're annoyed with how things have been. I hate it for you that you're in this spot. Really thought this was going to be the year. Probably should have known better, but it's going to be all right. They're probably going to lose to Miami, but I think they can still get to a solid bowl game if Pride can turn things around. But time will tell. But Hunter, I appreciate you, all your support. Happy to have you here, man. Hope you're doing well. And I appreciate you just being here all these years. Let's see here. Talked with Anthony about the path for USC, which was a lot of fun there. Lanky Boy is on here. If Cam Rising starts the rest of the year, they'll make the playoffs. Yes, they will. I agree with that. More than likely. I mean, they still got to win the Big 12, but they're undefeated right now. They can probably afford a loss or two and still get in. The Big 12 is wide open. Kansas State got torched against BYU, but I still think the Wildcats have a heck of a team. But you've got to worry about BYU. You've got to worry about UCF. You've got to worry about Iowa State. Kansas State or Oklahoma State will be eliminated from Big 12 title contention this Saturday. The loser of that game is out. That's an 0-2 start in conference play. They're done. So the game in Manhattan is massive, and it's lucky that Kansas State gets to host that game. But either the Big 12 runner-up from last year is going to be out of the race by week 5, or one of the Big 12 favorites and my pick to win the Big 12 in the preseason is going to be out by week 5. So an unfortunate situation for both those teams, but interesting to see how it plays out. But Utah, I think right now is the favorite to win the conference. I think I don't think there's any denying that. Don't think there's any denying that. I like this prediction. Jackson Arnold is Kiffin's next transfer quarterback. I like that a lot. And I can see it. Arnold's got talent. He's got talent. I think he's just put in a bad system in Oklahoma right now. New coordinator this year, bad offensive line. Receivers have been banged up. It hasn't been an ideal start. And all I'm going to say is the writing was on the wall for Oklahoma. If you watched Arnold's performance in last year's bowl game against Arizona, he had moments of brilliance, but he was turning the ball over left and right. I know it was his first game, hadn't had much experience, all those things. I understand that. But you should have been left, when you left that game losing by 14 points to Arizona, you should have been a little bit concerned. But everybody thought Arnold was going to be the savior, the next great thing, and he hasn't been that. Again, you can contribute that to him, the offensive line, the poor skill position players, all those things. But you put him in there with one of the best offensive minds in the game, and Lane Kiffin, watch out. And Arnold has proven to be a little bit more mobile, and we really haven't seen Lane Kiffin with a quarterback with much mobility. You know, and I know Jackson Dart has shown some. Matt Corral showed some. But, man, imagine Lane Kiffin in that high-octane offense with a true mobile quarterback. And Arnold's not really like that, but still you get the point I'm trying to make. I mean, how scary that would be. That'd just be insane. Absolutely insane. College football guy, who's the worst Power 4 team? Worst Power 4 team. Man, what a tough call. Oh, man. Let me go through the standings. Power 4. The worst Power 4 team right now. I'm honestly thinking it might be someone in the SEC, and it's not Vanderbilt. Mississippi State, maybe. Maybe Mississippi State. UCLA. Wouldn't that be a bowl game? I'm going through all the standings right now. Off the top of my head, that's a tough thing to choose. Yeah, honestly, probably Mississippi State or UCLA, probably. And Mississippi State just got dealt a terrible blow, obviously, when they lose Blake Shapen for the season. So horrible blow to Jeff Levy in his first year down at Starkville. Honestly, just hate to see that. I don't want to. No one wants to see anybody get hurt. Mississippi State wasn't going to be good anyways. So. The worst got worser. The rich get richer and the poor get poorer, and that's what happened to Mississippi State. Christopher, am I sold on Colorado? Not a bit. Moving on. Not a bit. Absolutely not. They're not good. They're not good. They're just not good. Let's take a look here. Cooperative Gamer, I appreciate that. Yes, as we wrap up tonight, make sure to like the stream, subscribe if you haven't. We want you to become a part of our GE Nation, guys. We are building something special here every single day. We've got a heck of a community made up of all of you guys that makes this, 10 times more fun, makes this job 10 times more fun, makes Wednesday nights, I know Tuesday, but typically our live streams on Wednesdays, so worth it. So continue to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Share the videos, man. The more you share, the more we grow. And that's ultimately what we're trying to do here. That's what we're trying to do here. Let's see here. Last few comments. He says, full day live stream for the big October 12th weekend. Look, if we can get 100 subs, if we can get 100 sales by that point, we will do it. We will do it. But help us get there. We're going to take our last call of the night, then wrap up on our comments, and then we'll be done. Let's get this call right here real quick. I don't know who's calling us. All right.
To accept, press 1. To send a...
Got him on the line here. Alan, what's going on?
Hey, how you doing?
Doing good, Alan. How are you?
I'm doing fine. I was called to talk to you on the show about the Ohio State Buckeyes and the BYU Cougars. You said they were going to struggle this year, but they seem to be doing pretty good.
Yeah, man. I've been very impressed with BYU. I really did think they were going to struggle. I wasn't sold at all on their offense. They struggled mightily last year on that side of the ball, and they've exceeded my expectations. I mean, a big road win at SMU, and then last week was just unbelievable what they did against Kansas State. So, look, they're 4-0, but I think it's interesting. They're 4-0, and they're underdogs on the road against Baylor. So, I think Vegas still isn't fully sold on the Cougars yet. So, if they can beat Baylor down in Waco, get to 5-0, be one win away from a bowl game, they're going to be looking really, really good and a true legitimate Big 12 dark horse. So I'll eat the crow on that one, man. I was wrong. I'm really happy to see Kalani Sitake doing so well this year.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Then what do you think about the USC Knights? I think they're a dark horse in the Big 12 too.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I'll tell you right now, I think they're going to beat Colorado this Saturday. I think they're going to beat them handily. Malzahn, I'm from Arkansas. Malzahn's an Arkansas guy, and he's a great offensive mind, and he has got some dogs in the running back core. And then you factor in a mobile quarterback in KJ Jefferson. This team has one of the best rushing offenses in the country, and people aren't talking about it. And they are a very complete team. To put together a 21-point comeback on the road in conference play, that's not easy. So they're going to beat Colorado. They're going to be 2-0 in conference play. And in a wide-open Big 12, like you mentioned, they are absolutely a dark horse to make the Big 12 championship.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. This is my first time calling. I watch the show all the time. I just was, like to say I love what you're doing and everything. Continue with your success and everything.
Well, Alan, man, I appreciate it. Make sure you call more often, man. We're here every week. So thanks for calling for the first time. We're thrilled to have you on our team and definitely hope to hear more from you, man.
Yes, sir. Go Bucks.
You got it. Thanks, Alan. All right. How about that for the first time caller? That's what we like to hear, man. Wow. First time caller. I love it when we get new guys on the phone, man. I really do. Love it when we get guys that call in for the first time. Long-time viewers, first-time callers. It's awesome, man. Every single one of you, big parts of the GE Nation, and I mean that. So thank you, Alan. Thank you for all who have called in tonight. Last few comments in the chat tonight as we approach the exact 2-hour mark. Let's see. Make sure I'm not missing anybody here. Let's see. Max is going to be at the game, potentially the game of the year. He's going to be in Tuscaloosa on the 20-yard line. I'll look for you. I will look for you in the stands when I'm watching on Saturday night. I'm going to be watching it down in Dallas, actually. I'm going to be in Dallas watching this game. So really looking forward to it. Looking forward to hopefully seeing the game live up to the hype. And for your sake, Max, seeing Alabama pull out a victory. Again, we'll have our official prediction on the channel tomorrow. But regardless, I think you're going to be in for one heck of a game and one of the best atmospheres that college football is going to see across the nation. One of the best atmospheres we're going to see all year long. Could not be more excited for this game. Cooperative Gamer, Navy. Look, I love Army Navy, man. They're looking great. Navy's looking good. Big win over Memphis that could have completely derailed Memphis's hope for a college football playoff berth. They're looking good. They're exceeding my expectations, and honestly, Army is too. So they're kind of, both doing very well in the American, and I want them to do well. We got these, these pennants behind us that were sent in by our guys, Murph the Surf and DM, who are big supporters of the military academies, and I have loved watching them thrive. I want Navy and Army in bowl games. I want them to be good. It's fun when they're good. A couple of years ago when Army was a perennial bowl team and occasionally was ranked in those bowl games, it was just fun to watch. And they're fun teams to watch. Their style of play is unbelievable. So I'm loving Navy. I think they're a bowl team this year, and that exceeds my expectations because I did not think they'd be a bowl team this year. So very excited to see what they have in store the rest of the season. And look, if you beat a high-octane offense like Memphis, you were able to take down one of the top dogs in the American. That's a conference win they weren't expected to have. So watch out. Navy could challenge for a American title berth. And God, can you imagine if Army or Navy made the college football playoff as an undefeated team? How epic that would be. The majority of America would be pulling for them. They would be literally would be America's team in the college football playoff. That would be awesome. Whoever it would be. Let's see here. Alex, Michigan State, will they make a bowl game? My gut says no, and I hate to say that for you, Alex. I really do. Michigan State's looked a lot more competitive than I expected. They've looked, better than I thought in year one under, and I'm pulling up the schedule right now, a lot better than I thought in year one under Jonathan Smith. But look, you're playing Ohio State this weekend. I think we all can agree you're not winning that. And then, after that, you got to play on the road at Oregon. Probably not winning that. 3 of your next 4 games are against Ohio State, Oregon, and Michigan. And Michigan's in Ann Arbor. The one in between that is Iowa and East Lansing. It's just a tough schedule. You got 3 wins. You need 3 more. I think you can beat Purdue. That would be 4. Maybe you pull up a home. It's going to be a home upset over Iowa or Indiana or Rutgers. So let's say you win one of those. That's 5. Where do you get your 6? You're not beating Ohio State. You're not beating Oregon. I don't think you're beating Michigan. I don't think you're beating Illinois. Where do you get that 6th win? It's going to have to come at home, which means they're going to have to take care of business against Iowa, Indiana, Purdue, and Rutgers. Purdue, I feel pretty good about, but where are the other 2 really coming from? So, tough schedule, man. But again, a young team, a new coach. You hope to see improvement. You hope to see competitiveness. You've seen that through the first 4 games. Probably, like you said, should have beaten Boston College. Could have been 4-0. They've already exceeded expectations. So I'm not going to rule anything past them, but I do think they're going to fall just short because conference play is about to start, and that's when things are going to get tough. That is when things are going to get tough. Let's take a look. Let's see. Last question here for everybody here. Do I have an active community group chat? It is in the works. Yeah, the Discord fell apart. I don't know what happened there. That was a fun experiment that didn't pan out. So it's in the works. I'm working on it. I'm hoping to have it done very, very soon, set up to where we can get as many people in there and just be able to talk during games, be able to talk among members of our channel. That is the hope and the goal. So I'm going to be continuing to work on that. If you are not signed up for our newsletter, definitely sign up for that. Because I send those out every week with a fun article, some good stat lines, our schedule for the week, inside info on the channel, things like that. So definitely go check that out and sign up. It's the Tuesday newsletter is free. The betting newsletter obviously goes to Expert Pick subscribers. Definitely check that out if you're into that. But I am working on a community group chat service that we can all interact in, and I will continue to work on that and should have an update for you very, very soon. So stay tuned. And I apologize for Discord. That was a it was a good effort. It was a good effort. It just some things happened and just wasn't gonna last. So having said all of that, what a night. We appreciate every single one of you guys. I really do. This was a great live stream, longer than I anticipated, but it went by like that, and I'm not upset that it went by longer. It was fun. It's always fun. It's great talking football with every one of you. Thank you to all of our callers. We got Brady. We got Shadid. I think we had Kirk from Virginia. We obviously had Alan, a first-time caller, which was awesome. Big-time shout-out to Anthony and Max for their huge, huge contributions tonight to the channel. Again, it goes a long way. Almost equates to a full Expert Picks thing. So you know what? We might make it a tally there, make it 58, which means we're getting closer and closer, one step closer each day to our 100 goal. And like Anthony said, maybe we can get it by the October 12th. Maybe we can get to that goal by October 12th for that massive day of football. And if not then, maybe by October 19th, because the 19th is massive too. Might have the number 1 and number 2 teams in the country playing when Georgia takes on Texas. So time will tell. But regardless, we appreciate every single one of you. President Rocks, Froze Up, JoJo, Scotty B, Alex TV, Cooperative Gamer, Doggy, Brady, Max, Anthony, God, Lanky Boy. Let's see who else here. I think it's the Alex TV, College Football Guy, Alan Pickens, Noah Madrigal, Austin Pruitt. I like to give everybody the shout out here. Mitch, Paxton, Will Burrow, B Swan, all of you guys that call in, UCF, Neo, Eddie, Jerry, DM, Murph the Surf, all of you guys have been great supporters. We appreciate all of you guys being here tonight. We'll see you next Wednesday, back on Wednesday, 7 p.m. Central Time for our Week 6 live stream. Bring your questions, bring the energy. You did it tonight. Let's do it again. But you guys have a great rest of your night. Stay tuned for our predictions coming out tomorrow. Tomorrow, we've got Georgia-Bama, all those big top 25 matchups. We're beginning to predict those tomorrow here on the channel. So stay tuned. Come back for those. You do not want to miss them. But until then, like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert. Have a great night, everybody.